In this video, we're going to take a look at how to add dados to the sides for the tops and the bottoms to fit and be dadoed into the sides of the cabinets. On the main data entry page, we do not have or see an option for dados. We have back dados that's going to dado the back of the cabinet into the sides, but we don't have the option set here for dadoing the bottoms into the sides. So we're going to set that option by going to Tools, Settings, then for the cabinet type of wall, we're going to set the option in checkbox, the blind full dado. We're going to take a look at what we have set here. We're going to enter in the default setting is 1.5 blind and the width is 0.375. That is the default setting. So we'll go ahead and hit save, close, and we will enter in the wall cabinet 30 by 12 deep with the option now set for blind dados. Notice that the option is automatically checked for the wall cabinet, but if we change the cabinet type, we have the option to add a blind dado to a base, but it is not checked by default. We will cover why and how to set that by default, but let's go back to the wall cabinet and enter in that to our cabinet list and calculate nest. We now have the geometry set for dadoing into the sides of the bottoms into the sides. The geometry for the dado on the sides is offset off the back to compensate for the radius of the cutter, and then we have our stopped line that was 1.5 inches in, and we also have our rectangles in our that are set here on the tops and the bottoms to create a rabbet to fit into the dado that we have on the tops and the bottoms. We also have control over how far this dado is going to extend out past the back of the cabinet within the global settings of the main cabinet entry page. So this is one possibility of dadoing in. Let's go ahead back and explore some other dado options. So going to File, New, then going into Settings. With this option for the blind dado selected, I'm going to go ahead again, change some options. I'm going to change the width to be 0.75 inches. We'll save this setting and close. Enter another cabinet in and calculate nest. We will now see we have a full 3/4 inch wide dado for the tops and the bottoms. We still have our blind notch set, but we do not have the rectangle for the rabbet, and that is because our dado is 3/4 inch and does match up to the material thickness. Now to do away with the notch or the blind, we could close the nesting and enter in a new job again. Tools, then Settings. Clicking the option for blind full dados, and we are going to change the blind dado to 0. Make that change. And we're also going to show how and why for a base cabinet that option for dados was not set by default. We've set the option for a wall cabinet to use blind dados, but if we use the drop-down box to select base, the option is not set. So if we want blind full dados or blind dados for a base cabinet, go ahead and check that box as well. The default settings between the wall and the base cabinet can be set differently. We did set the wall cabinet up to have a full dado with a 3/4 and the blind to 0, but for the base cabinet it's still set to default. So if we change the cabinet back to wall, we will see that these settings are updating to what we have set for that wall cabinet. So flipping back to the base cabinet, if we wanted to make any changes, we would just make the change just as we did for that wall cabinet and click Save. So for this job, let's go ahead and enter in another wall cabinet that is going to have the full dado without a stop, and then go ahead and add a base cabinet as well, and calculate nest. You now have the full dados going across the bottoms of the sides of the wall cabinet. We have our top stretchers for the base that does have the rectangle drawn in for the rabbet. If we scroll to sheet number 2, we will see that the base cabinet sides have the dado that is still set to have the stop at 1.5 inches, 3/8 wide dado to receive the rabbeted bottom sides to fit. So again, we could just go ahead and make the changes for that base cabinet just the same way that we did for that wall cabinet, and also for any other cabinet type that is in that list. All work the same way. If we do not always want to have a blind dado or a dado set for base cabinets, for instance, the store base does not have that set by default, that doesn't mean we can't just add it for this one cabinet, add that to our list. So now that particular drawer base cabinet is going to get the blind dado option set, even though in our main settings it was not set by default. If we do not want it to have checked, just uncheck it before entering in the cabinet to the cabinet list. So hopefully this helps explain dados and blind dados, stop dados, and everything about dadoing the tops and bottoms into the sides.